Chapter 90, Scapegoat. My thoughts of the government scapegoating and me being the fall guy was confirmed after Ralph slumped another cop. This time it happened in Landover, Maryland. A police officer was sitting in his squad car outside of a 24-hour liquor store when Ralph walked up and pumped 6 bullets in his head close range with the Mac 11. He then dragged the officer out of the car and dumped 4 more in his face. He took the cop's Glock with him before walking home. He lived right up the street in the Kentland apartments, in the same building I used to live in. The cop was a known troublemaker that harassed people in the community every day. It was rumored that he had a Confederate flag tattooed on his forearm, a white pride tattoo down his 2 flabby triceps, and double thunderbolts on the back of his neck. No one in the community witnessed the killing or lost any sleep as a result of it. One of my friends from Landover was later charged with the slaying. Officers burst into his girlfriend's apartment and beat him mercilessly on the account of a coerced witness. Another total disrespect. He had absolutely nothing to do with the slaying of the pig. It took the government 6 months to drop the charges on the homie after Ralph yet again killed another cop. This time, an FBI agent. This was the 7th cop killed in the DC area within 2 years and the 10th one shot. The cops had no idea who had placed bullseyes on their badges until Ralph's girlfriend became suspicious after constantly seeing the descriptions of the cop stalker on the news. A tall man that wore braces. After seeing her bathroom soaked in blood from him ripping off his braces with a pair of pliers, she contacted the FBI. The next day, while he thought he was going to meet her in Greenbelt, Maryland, 27 cops and FBI agents was there waiting for him. Him, being from the streets, which demanded a heightened sense of awareness, he detected a setup and acted accordingly. He was at the place of meeting an hour before the agreed upon time and watched the cops setting up. The stalkers were being stalked. Instead of easily leaving the scene, he waited for them to finish setting up, got on his belly and crawled with his elbows toward the closest FBI agent sitting in the car and opened fire close range. 2 shots to the head and 2 to the body, killing him instantly. A running shootout ensued as his submachine gun littered the streets with empty shell casings. A rain of gunshots stopped the small city of 20,000 from functioning. Helicopters hovered as news reporters took cover. Ralph ended up behind a large steel trash can and used it for cover as he reloaded with another extended magazine and then continued to strafe the police positions. The shootout lasted almost 20 minutes with over 50 cops returning fire. He was eventually killed by shrapnel ricocheting off of a large steel trash can that he was shooting from behind. He was 29 years old. Beside his body was the disabled Mac 11 that he killed the cop with in Landover, and the dead cop Glock, just like Benny. He died behind Greenbelt Middle School, the same junior high school I went to. The charges against the homie was then dismissed and he won $1 million settlement.
After 5 weeks, Jeffrey Gilbert warily walked out of Prince George's County Detention Center, clinging to cheering family members and friends.
Praise the Lord. I'm happy to be out.
Gilbert had been badly beaten by Prince George's County Police when he was taken into their custody for allegedly killing one of their own. Shaken and near tears, could only nod his head as he was whisked away for a private celebration with relatives.
Chapter 92, Sacrifice. While in South Carolina, I had gotten a call from my parole officer on my answer machine in DC. She wanted me to come in for an office visit. I knew what that meant. The feds had a case against me and they would be there waiting. I knew I was on my way to the iron house, strip searched and humiliated. I knew I was on my way to the country, cuffed and shackled. Then on my way up in the mountains, black boxed and stressed. Then on my way cross country, mugging and hostile. I knew the penitentiary was awaiting my arrival. My brother was long gone. Benny was dead and Yuck was locked up on a gun charge. The FBI were raiding everyone's homes and interrogating every and anyone that were in any form affiliated with us. Most people we had no dealings with, but we understood that it was an intimidation tactic and an easy way to flip weak men. Most of the men were holding strong, but a few had already been broken.
The Special Agent Jeremiah Hannafin, the FBI in D.C. Today's date is March 8th, 1995. Time is approximately 2:23 p.m. to be a recording of a drug purchase in the area of First and Kennedy. The recorder has been activated in the anticipation of a drug purchase. Okay, I'll see you back here.
All right. All right. See what I can go. What do I know the way? Here we go again. We're young and we got Dave too. Okay, we got Blind. We got him, guys. There you go.
No, my motto ain't no getting scared now.
Who's that, Blind? What's up? Come on, man. Hunter, crispy Hunter. Got to be big, brother.
I got some chronic, man. I'm telling you, I got the chronic, man.
Good.
The chronic. They're calling it the gray horse down here.
The gray horse.
The gray horse. I got the chronic. Okay.
Who's on the herb at, man?
I ain't even got no herb.
Man. Where you want to go? Should we circle the block once or what?
Just give me 80, white boy.
Just give you a weekend.
I'm gonna get 5 for 80.
50, 67, 80. 5 for 80. That'll work, man.
See, I hooked you up, and that's the gray horse.
Is this the gray horse?
The gray horse, man.
Okay, brother. It looks good to me. You want out right here?
Yeah, you can let me on right.
Are you gonna be all right or what, man?
Yeah.
Man, hook up with you back again, okay, bro?
I'm guaranteed, bro.
Okay, brother, man. They gotta have to shake the hand now, all right. Deal is done. I'm on Madison, right?
Some of them had no experience in the adult prison system like I did and feared the Lawson stories and reputation. Most were just young guys hustling to buy new clothes and to help their parents. But some were killers out of necessity and peer pressure, or the fear of being killed themselves. But once that fear was removed by being in the confines of a government building, they returned back to their true selves. It was time for me to head home and sacrifice myself. I had enough money to do however amount of time I faced. Whatever charges they bring, I will fight. I hadn't heard from my brother since he left for Moscow. I hadn't heard from Benny's parents since he died. They were grieving. They lost their only son. Ralph got cremated and his girlfriend was still in hiding. She had a price on her head. I hadn't heard from anyone on Kennedy Street and I hadn't heard from my own parents. They were sad and stressed. But I had stacked northward of $500,000 in cash that needed to be stashed. ASAP. Raw cash was like raw coke. Leaving it in the presence of users is a recipe for disaster. Even if the addict hadn't used in years, it would be tempting. Money was worse. Everybody was an addict because everybody needed it. Taking a few thousand here and there would be almost impossible to pass up. When I first began hustling weed at the age of 13, I started by stealing a few buds at a time from my pops. Then it graduated to ounces, then to quarter pounds. Then by the age of 16, I was moving over 100 pounds a month. Theft is naturally gradual when unchecked. And how could I check if I was in prison? I knew I would be gone for a few years even if they didn't have any cases to put me on. I was on parole, and the parole board was the worst system in the judiciary. They followed or respected no rules or regulations. They had guidelines that they ignored and had the leeway to even extend the sentence given to you by a judge. I didn't trust anyone and I needed somewhere safe to put the cash. But finding that would be a challenge. Burying it is not a good choice. The money could end up molding and damaged from moisture, or the land could be developed. A safety deposit box wasn't safe because it would have to be in someone else's name or an alias, which brought complications. Everybody was paranoid of the FBI, either trailing them, pulling them over, taking pictures, tapping their phones, showing up at their jobs, or knocking on their doors. FBI agents fully understood how much fear a FBI badge and jacket created, even amongst hardened gangsters. Imagine the fear it created amongst the normal civilians that were being harassed. Plus, anyone that isn't used to being around so much cash wouldn't know how to act around it. They may even tell their best friend, which was a recipe for backstabbing and even murder. If I lost my own money, I can only be mad at myself. But if someone else lost it, my reaction would be unpredictable, even to me. I decided to take it home, and from my experience in prison stashing contraband, I would make a wicked stash spot inside the house that no one would find, even if the house goes into foreclosure or civil forfeiture and sold to new owners. If that happened while I was in prison, I would find a way to get it back, even if I had to tie up the new occupants. At least I would know where it's at. As soon as I returned to Washington, I checked on my mom and sisters and got the horrible news of infrared beams and shotguns pointed at them. Mom said she dived under the bed when they burst into her room. They never yelled police as they raided her home. She thought they were robbers. I was pissed, but I held my composure. They wanted us. With my brother gone, I was the sacrificial lamb preparing for the slaughter. I gave my loved ones unsure reassurances and headed for the slaughterhouse. The feds would probably return, but all I could do was hope that they didn't. As soon as I pulled up to my home, I knew something wasn't right, so I immediately went to work on my stash spot. In prison, I had to be extremely creative in finding stash spots for my knives. This served me well. I surveyed the spot 100 times from every angle to make sure nothing looked suspicious or out of place while sweeping up every piece of debris. I then turned on the news. They were still mourning the officers who Benny Lee and Ralph put down and still trying to find a motive.
He grew up and frequented this area near First and Kennedy Northwest. He was a technician in his father's telephone communications business that shut down last December. The word on the street is that Benny had other ideas for making money, selling guns, but when he was caught 4 years ago, friends say he gave it up.
It was intriguing that they didn't even realize that amongst men, the motive of disrespect caused the most killings. It was snow outside, so I put my 4x4 Desert Eagle in a plastic bag and stuffed it in the snow right outside my back door. I then kicked my Timbs off, sipped the Guinness Stout, and began meditating on the inevitable demolition of my existence. Only a foolish dog barks at a flying bird. I lived in a quiet cul-de-sac in the Maryland suburbs, but all of a sudden I heard car doors slamming, back to back. This was abnormal. They're here. I jumped up, landing directly into my chuckers, and double-checked the floors for debris that would indicate some form of construction. The house was clean. They would never find the stash. I ran into the basement. As soon as I got to the bottom of the steps, I heard the front door upstairs blow open. Simultaneously, the back door and basement doors blew open with brown shirts and homicide detectives yelling loudly to cause confusion.
Police, get down! Police, get down! Get down! Police for the search warrant!
Flashlights and infrared beams came around the corner as soon as I sat on the sofa.
Police for the search warrant! Police, let me see your hand!
I complied and was cuffed. Where is your brother? Who? After 10 minutes of searching, the agents took me into a back room where 5 other agents were standing around looking disappointed. Where is your brother? How the hell I'ma know? What I look like? His beeper? One of the agents grabbed me by my shirt collar and it seemed like something came over him immediately. He quickly released it and took a step back. This time he spoke softly. "Kareem, where is Kobe? I have nothing to say. Am I being arrested or detained?" They all stared at me pissed. I wanted to talk to a lawyer. Conversation was done. At just 23 years old, I was already well experienced in the justice system and I knew my constitutional rights. Over 40 agents and SWAT took me from the home and straight to DC to be charged with first-degree murder. Warrants had another 4 counts of murder for my brother and Yuck, plus they had started investigations into 14 other killings across the East Coast.